I always enjoy coming back to Cameroon, which is a country in West Africa or Central Africa that I was actually born in. But coming back to Africa, Cameroon is always like I'm constantly fighting with every single one I know, and everyone just looked at me like some foreigners that have been living out of Cameroon for a long period of time. For people that don't know, I've been living out of Cameroon in West Africa for the past 15 years. So I currently live in a lot of European countries. The first thing that actually shocked me every single time when I go back to Cameroon or in any other African country is with my Irish passport, my European passport, I can actually travel to a lot of African countries compared to having my African passport, which is something that always drives me crazy because I can't get it. I can travel to more African countries with my European passport than I can actually travel to African country with my African passport. So sometimes I can't even explain this to non-African. I can't even explain it to my partner. I can't even explain it to my own daughter that's growing up thinking it's possible to travel to Africa with my African passport than with my European passport. This is something that I've always bothered me a lot, because for people that don't know, it's actually really hard to get any other passport for an African, but it's actually easier for European to get any African passport if they do want to get it. And even when I go back home, even when I travel back to Africa, because I'm always going to love Cameroon, I'm always going to love Africa in general. But even when I actually travel to Africa with my European passport, I usually get more respect compared to me traveling with my African passport. And sometimes I actually don't get it. I don't literally get what is happening. So this has made me to look at Africa, to look at my home country Cameroon in a different way compared to me looking at Europe. They always value the European passport. They always value everything that's coming out of Europe, that's coming out of America, compared to what is actually coming out of their own home country, which is something that baffles me a lot. Because for people that know, Africa is really lovely. But whenever someone foreign go on Google to type about Africa, to type about Cameroon, the first thing that always comes up is war. The first thing that always comes up is how dirty the place is and how bad, I don't know, like I remember the first time my partner actually went on Google to type about Cameroon because we were actually planning to go to Cameroon together, and she couldn't see anything positive about the country. And I actually went on Google myself and tried to type Cameroon, just Google Cameroon, and everything that came up was war. Everything that came up was really bad, like dirt and everything. But whenever you check any other European country, if you check Italy, if you check Ireland, if you check any European country, you always see the good stuff first, then the bad stuff come after. For people that know, Africa is one of the most best touristic places that you can actually go to, but tourism in Africa is one of the lowest. And in a lot of countries like Italy, in a lot of countries like England, Spain, Portugal, Italy actually is one of the highest export of those countries. But Africa is not the same. I till today don't know why. Because the people that actually go on holidays in Africa, and after coming back, they can actually say, yeah, Africa has one of the best holidays location that you can actually go to. But you can't find that on Google. Tourism is really underdeveloped in Africa, even though Africa is so lovely. If you go to countries like Tanzania, if you go to countries like Ivory Coast, they have goat wash, they have ferries, they have lakes, they have everything that you're actually going to see in European countries as well, but it's literally underdeveloped. And something that actually baffled me a lot as well, after living in Europe for over 15 years, whenever there's something bad like a war or a crisis even that happens in Africa, everyone just turns like a blind eye. No one even want to talk about it. For example, now we actually have a war happening in Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, where many European countries are coming to exploit all of their natural resources. As you know, Congo have one of the richest natural reserves in the entire world. So if you see Belgium today, Belgium was built up by the Congolese, or the Belgium that you see today was done throughout natural resources they got off the Congo. But Congo has a crisis at the moment. They're killing a lot of people. Other European countries are coming to exploit, but no one talks about stuff like this. I actually still don't get it till today. But if something is happening in Europe, the American, we talked about it, the Asian, we talked about it, and even the African, we talked about it, and we know what is happening in every single country. For example, the Russian and the Ukraine crisis that has been going on for 2 years, I swear, even if you go to the smallest village in Africa, everyone knows about it. But whatever happens in African countries, no one else knows about it. I don't know if it's just because no one cares about Africa. I don't actually know how to explain this. But the Americans knows, the Europeans knows, but they just pretend not to know what is happening. Why? Because it's to your benefit for anything happening. If there's any destabilization of all these African countries, then they can actually go there and exploit as much as possible. Another thing that baffles me as well is whenever I go back to Africa, I'm always so relaxed. Maybe because that's where I'm from. Maybe, I don't know if it's the same with every single person. Any Asian person, when they go back to their home country, if it's the same. In Europe, for the past 15 years that I've lived, I actually literally understand what they meant by time is money. Every single one is extremely busy in Europe. Every single minute in Europe, I have my notebook, I have a pen to tick out that at this time I have to do this, at this time I have to do this, at this time I have to do this. I'm always busy in Europe, but it's not the case. Even when I was living in Africa, I wasn't busy. Even when I didn't have a job in Europe, I was actually still busy compared to when I went back to Africa with a lot of stuff happening. So Europe is just like so busy. You have to pay all of the bills. As you all know, there's a lot of bills that have to be paid in Europe. You've got electricity bills, you've got every type of bills to pay, healthcare, car insurance, you've got everything to pay. And that's the exact same stuff that you have to pay in Africa. But I don't know, when I'm in Africa, it's never this busy for me. I don't know if it's just me or if every single one that goes back to the home country is always the same. Sometimes I actually get it when people say go back to your home country or go back where you're from, because you always feel safer. Even if there's a war in your country, you're actually going to feel safer in your country compared to anywhere else that you are. This is coming from someone that has traveled a lot. Like, I've traveled a lot. I can't even count how many countries I've traveled. I'm not just traveling, living in those countries, European countries, African countries, everywhere, even in the United States of America. But till today, it still feels safer for me to go back to Cameroon or to go back to any African country. This doesn't prevent me from saying I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful. Not everyone have the opportunity to own a European passport or to own a passport that can let you to travel to wherever country you want to travel to. But everything have a pro and a con. Yeah, it's good traveling, it's good if you do have the money to do all of that. But sometimes just hearing people constantly being racist to you, just telling you to go back to your country, sometimes even if you're the strongest person on this earth, it comes to a time that you just want to go back to where you're from and just relax. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in Africa anyways. Like, the cost of living is really low in Africa, but it's not easy to find a job. Even those who have gone to school, those who have gone to university and they have masters, bachelors and everything, they still can't find jobs because the older population still stays on power. The presidents are old and they still want to be the president of all these countries. Whereas when you look at Europe, most European presidents are either young or female, and most of them, they're like the youth that actually came to power directly. They didn't embezzle the state funds. They did gosh the position just by marriage. So yeah, looking at Africa after living in Europe for 15 years or over 15 years have made me to think a lot, and has actually made me to be like, I actually want to be one of those people that in the future will stand up and start thinking of making Africa great again, or making Africa being a great nation. I know why doing this video today, people might be laughing. I know some people might be like, how are you going to do that? But if every single one step up, if every single one start doing the right stuff, if you do the right stuff, instead of doing the wrong thing because everyone else is doing it. Try to do the right, try to fight for your right, try to fight for your home countries like all of these other countries did, and see where they are today. Like looking at Africa after living in Europe for more than 15 years have made me to be thinking a lot, and have made me to be a better person and think of how to change it. So thanks for watching, and there's nothing else I can say. It's just never give up, keep fighting for your right, and we're going to see where the world lead us in the next 15 years to come as well. See you. Ciao.